Here's my Steam review that I had given to this game. I will doubt that this game will change after 6 months. But if you are on the fence about buying this game after, I don't know, 3 to 4 years of post-game development, I suggest do not buy this game. Not even on sale. If you're looking for a new 4X game to replace a Civilization franchise, this is not it. These guys have tried so hard to create hype for humankind, like it would be like a Civ Killer. Instead, what they delivered is a confusing mess that looks pretty enough but plays terrible. What's really bizarre is the big patch drops that speaks of the balance, but only seem to make the game worse. Let's take a closer look, shall we? The territory management tries to imitate Endless Legend, but falls flat on its face pretty quickly. Upgrading cities and territories is a slugfest, reminiscent of early Civ eras. Trying to offset with more cities to make things more interesting is almost impossible due to prohibitive influence cost. There are good enough concepts and things to mess around with, but the execution is really bad. Until they fix the timing, the resource cost, and the maintenance cost to grow your cities, this part of the game is still a snooze fest. The war support. This is one of the most important mechanics that the games brings to the table in the 4X genre. And the mechanics is just pure trash for two main reasons. The AI can generate war support infinitely by constantly throwing out outrageous demands on your way. Like, give me your territory. Nope. Bam, 20 war support their way. Next turn, give me your territory. Nope. Another 20 support on their way. So how do you generate war support for yourself, you wonder? Well, you can't demand money. You can't demand territories. At best, you try for a treaty, hope that they refuse and then demand. They accept your treaty and either declare war without proper support or withdraw and get a tiny amount of war support. And you need war support to have an actual war. Like, that sound like something that makes sense, right? In truth, even if you manage a good amount of army and play each battles manually, because the auto resolve is terrible in this game, and are on your way to decimating your opponent, guess what? The game forces you to end the war when the right opponent run out of war support. At this point, regardless of how much territory you conquered, the outcome of the war is simply reduced to shitty barter system, where you use your remaining war support points to buy the territory you actually want. And you probably would have guessed it, that never comes out, ever. You never get an actual territory you want from that war support. There is never enough war support to buy everything, or even notice that more than what you just conquered. Why would they implement such a gimmick mechanics along with its sluggish base growth, you ask? Well, I can only answer this with one mechanics that really artificially prolong the gameplay. That is the battle mechanics. Here the game looks promising at first, like in the battle mechanics are genuinely interesting. The manual combat is actually very interesting and allow you to think of a creative ways to get an upper hand. So, like it sounds good on paper if they only left it at that. But no, they had to mock it up with some of the extra garbage to make this worse. For example, reinforcement. In short, the AI can call endless reinforcement from off map, while any additional armies you might have on your way are completely locked out of the battle. Doesn't matter if you defend or attack. So you better come with really overwhelming force or prepare to have your ass handed to you. Flea mechanic. Well, what's there to talk about? In any 4X game, if you attack someone and they flee, they get pushed back where they came from and they lose half of their health. Pretty standard fares. So let's move on, shall we? But no. In this game, you try to catch an enemy with an overwhelming force and they flee with no health or movement penalty, not away from your force, but boring deeper into your territory, forcing you to get creative with quick save or quick load to engage them just right so you don't end up effing yourself over. But surely that can help the players too, right? Sure, maybe, though I have yet to see it being useful in anything more than saving the occasional scout that blunder into the enemy units. 9 times out of 10, this mechanic gives AI a ridiculous advantages over you by allowing its army to dance around your forces and attack vulnerable areas with no penalties whatsoever. It's a broken mechanic. And speaking of broken mechanic, let's talk about the line of sight. Now this one is a real head scratcher. First encountered when you switch to crossbowman. So unless the enemy is in direct line of sight, like perfectly aligned to your hexagon and no more than 2 hexes away, none of your own units are in the way. You cannot shoot the enemy. Okay, sure, makes sense you don't want to shoot your units, I guess. Although, why don't they just add some glazing damage to your forces instead? Is beyond me. But then you move to your gunpowder and modern units and even missile artilleries and the same stupid mechanics remain. You can't shoot unless perfectly aligned and nothing is blocking your LOS. Words cannot do this a proper justice. We have to experience the bullshit to really appreciate its stupidity. Another thing is the overall premise of switching teams constantly is weird. Like you started out as a Rome and then become Chinese or something. Like what the hell? It has nice tactical combat, which is probably its only good point. The way it handled the war is the worst. I would argue it is more realistic or something, but it's not really. Your enemy with no army forces you to hand over your cities. What? I think they can make hundreds adjustments to this in later patches, which kind of shows how messed up it originally was. That they agree it was so bad. I very much doubt that this could be improved much later though. The end game on most of these 4X games is tedious, and I don't remember offering Humankind offering any particular attractive solution to this. Simply put, no. It's still a terrible game. I see a lot of people say it's just another Civ, but It doesn't play anywhere near as well as virtually any mainline Civ game. It has some interesting ideas that were implemented very poorly. I will never buy another game from Amplitude after Humankind. Maybe if they handle the next uh, Endless Legends 2 game well, maybe I can buy it. But I really would buy their game with extreme cautiousness, mainly because of the way it was handled post launch. They let the game lavish for months in an absolute shit show of a state where while prioritizing shitty events and season passes in a 4X game. I think someone in the higher up dev team got confused and thought that they were working on a live service game. Although, frankly, most live service games have provided better support and balance that fixes the issues of live service games at a much faster rate at the critical time of the game's life cycle. I am honestly glad that this game crashed and burned after seeing where the developers' heads were at. The list goes on and on about many of the issues. Like, I don't even talk about the shift switching that much, like how unimmersive it is, how immersion breaking the journey feels, how the enemy AI had no personality or nothing to say. Like, RP potential of this game is terrible. Frankly, I'm sure you have tired of hearing many critiques by now of this game. This is one of the worst mainstream budget Civ like game I have ever played in the last 5 years. If you want a better alternative for Civ franchise, I would highly suggest you play Old World by Soren Johnson. Old World is a much better Civ alternative than any other game in the market. It is simply one of the best games that has come out in the 4X genre. And no, I am not suggesting Stellaris. Even though Stellaris had very good support and many positive features, I find Stellaris to be overrated. I don't find it to be enjoyable, and the game and the still and the gameplay is even more tedious on that game. If you want a good 4X alternative, I would highly suggest you play Old World or any other uh, Paradox game other than Stellaris, like Crusader Kings. Even though those games are grand strategy, they still have 4X DNA. They still implement some of the 4X DNA. So I would highly recommend those games and many more on the market that are niche. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching.